Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great pleasure to welcome you on today's panel discussion titled AI in Practice, Realizing the Potential. And today's panel will be about regulation and innovation. My name is Lukáš Benzl. I'm the Managing Director of the Czech Association of Artificial Intelligence, Česká Asociace umělé inteligence, ČAUI for short. And I will be your host today. I have a not so funny fun fact for you. I moderated the exact same panel last year, so I'm interested what has changed in the last 12 months. And please let me introduce our panel of experts. Michaela is really sorry, but she can't join us. She has a different event going on, so she just says hi, and she's sorry that she's not here. But Tomáš Ščerba, partner at DLA Piper is here. Hello, Tomáš. Your mic is not working, I guess.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Fantastic. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, as you see, I'm a techie. I managed to manage my mic, so happy to be here. Thank you.
Hello, Tomáš. Andrej Persolja, founder of Tangible Growth, is here. Hello.
Hey, I can test. That works. That's good. Hi, everyone. I'm in marketing, so I can operate that.
And Kurleto, CEO of Neoteric, is here.
Hi, hello. I just had a presentation, so I dropped the introduction. Thank you.
I encourage audience engagement, so please feel free to submit your questions to our panelists via the Slido platform with the event code IU24, like Innovations United 24, or just ask us. It's a small room, so we will be able to hear you and answer your questions. I anticipate a stimulating exchange of ideas. So now, without further ado, let's jump right into the first question. If you don't mind, I take a chair and let's start. Guys, my favorite question, it's not about AI, it's not about regulation or innovation, but it's about people. What's like the biggest misconception about AI or about the tech that you hear in your practice like almost every day? Tomáš, if you can start.
Don't you have some easier questions, Luki? Yeah, from a perspective as an attorney at law, because all of us are somehow restricted in our thinking, helping our clients with huge projects and complex issues, I would say that the biggest misconception actually is that AI can solve almost all our problems, almost all technical hiccups, almost all challenges that we face literally every day. But this is not true. We still believe that there is a strong human approach, human-centric approach. So we don't believe, at least in our sector, that you would definitely want to interact with an artificial attorney at law, with an artificial judge, or with an avatar of a, let's say, public prosecutor. So that's my first thoughts.
Andrej, what's your experience?
So I work in marketing, and I have to say that basically my answer is going to be the same, because I always say to people that, you know, basically people expect that they get an email, they put it into ChatGPT, they say write me an answer, and they send that out, and it's probably a good email, right? Because ChatGPT did it, so it has to be good. The problem is AI can't do your work. Like AI can't think instead of you, right? And so I think in marketing, the biggest sort of misconception is that we can just use AI to do our own tasks.
And don't you think that marketing is sometimes a source of misconception?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So we are the part of a problem, right?
Absolutely. We are the biggest problem. Like, yeah, I completely agree. Like, I hate marketing because of that. Because we are basically we're trying to find shortcuts where basically deep thought is needed instead, right? So if we take something so stupid as writing an email and just, automate it by default without having a second thought, like what does that do to, our communication as people, right? We basically lose our essence, I think. So yeah, I would say the problems, I guess, are pretty much similar to the lawyer section.
Matt, your expertise is like the business strategy, implementation of AI. So what's your misconception that you hear all the time?
That it will save FTEs. It never saves FTEs. So that's usually what companies are saying. We will implement AI and it will save FTEs. Sorry to say that, it only saves FTEs if you actually fire those people. If you don't fire those people and they start playing darts in your office or they start doing more content that no one is reading, there are no benefits from this AI. There's just more bullshit going on in your company. So, in my opinion, the misconception is that AI is saving time that we need to use on work. It's not. It's an opportunity to do more in less for some.
Okay, thank you very much for your answers. Tomáš, do you have anything to add?
I just wanted to say that I couldn't agree more. You're perfectly right. And resulting from some, let's say, expert studies carried out by several of our clients, I may clearly state that the cost efficiency right now ranges between 12 to 15%, which is the maximum amount. So obviously AI has great potential still, but it's always not about firing people. It's not always about cost savings. It's about more productivity and reaching out to certain further goals.
True, and that is one of the essences that I'm talking about when it doesn't save FTEs. Because if you don't fire those people, you need to find them something to do that will bring better results than what they used to do when they didn't have the AI. So if you have someone that is producing pages for products on an e-commerce store and you enable them to do 10 an hour instead of 10 a week, it only makes sense if that actually improves something. If your conversions stay at the same level, if your customer lifetime value stays at the same level, if your one-bag baskets stay at the same level, what is the benefit? You need a clear value capture strategy for your AI. You need to say, okay, if we save time here and we use it there, this is the money. So it doesn't necessarily need your AI project to drop the money for the company, but it needs to inflict the change that will make money dripping because of this implementation.
That sounds great and highly practical, but let's add something to the mixture, and that's regulation. AI is new for some companies. It's not new at all, but for some companies it is. And regulation is like super fresh for some. So what practical advice do you have, Tomáš, for companies that start to navigate in the regulation, that know something about AI Act, they know something maybe about the plans of EU in the field of regulation, but they don't know where to start?
Yeah, thank you, Lukáš. Well, first of all, they should look for a good lawyer to help out with the implementation of the regulation. No, I'm just kidding. But the fact is that it's not only about the AI Act, which, ladies and gentlemen, is not a short document. Normally when we come to our clients and when we print, it's not ESG friendly, but we do it regularly, just to showcase how thick the bundle of papers covering the whole wording of the AI Act is. It's almost 500 A4 pages, this AI Act. So for companies, specifically for smaller businesses, it may pose quite a challenge to understand all the rules and implement them. So that's why we are here as professionals helping out with this conundrum. And the practical start, well, so once you have a lawyer, then B, you should know your company. You should be able to simply comment on each and every aspect of your processes of your firm, so what your firm actually is doing. Then point C, or point number 3, is you need to have a proper AI strategy. The AI strategy actually is the business logic behind how to deploy AI, what are you expecting from the AI, what goals are you looking for, etc. And then you just roll up your sleeves and go to the details. You go to your specific category of your AI tools or AI deployed tools. So are these tools forbidden? Are they allowed? If they are forbidden, how I should simply cancel the contractual relationship with vendors who offer me this forbidden solution, which is step 1, because the efficiency of that specific part of the AI Act is coming into force in a couple of months, actually. So you have to be really quick. Then, if you have other categories of AI systems, you need to know what exact obligations lie on your business. So that's why, again, you need to call your lawyer to prepare an exact set of rules which you have to implement. And then, once these are implemented, you can go further and sleep well so that you do not risk any sanctions from the regulatory bodies. So that's the very first practical steps, I would say.
So what basically happened is we have this new whole big AI Act, and then we're doing the same stupid thing with it as we did with GDPR, and it will end up with 2 more checkboxes.
Well, not really. It's not only about the AI Act. There is even some more regulation. It's not only about AI Act. There is a lot coming on the horizon, like Liability Directive and some others. But basically what you're saying, it's not only the documentary exercise, as it was with GDPR, and as it is sometimes with cybersecurity, but this is a lot more. This is about preparing the whole organization, not only for the processes and for the documents, but for people, for the logic behind all of this. And so this is a bigger task, for sure.
So how will this bigger task be different from GDPR? Because with GDPR, we've heard all the same things from the lawyers. It's about people, it's about protection, it's about everything. None of that happened. The only thing that happened is that I have to check 5 checkboxes, and now I have to check 2 more or 5 more, saying it's okay to train AI with it, it's okay to use train AI with it, it's okay that I don't understand how it's working, and it's okay that you will ask someone if it's okay that I said okay to use the data that I'm not okay for you to use.
I'm on vacation right now, just having fun, so...
I wouldn't just say that it's about ticking the boxes. I think that Amazon, which was fined some $860 million by the Luxembourg regulator, or Microsoft, which was fined by 50 million euros by the French regulator,
Sorry,
and
how
many more
much
others.
is it as a percentage of their revenue?
Well, I don't have the calculator in my head, but it's definitely quite a lot of money, isn't it? So this is not only about checking boxes, it's also going into details of data processing. But here with the AI, you have to go even further. So it's not about compliance, but it's about contract negotiation. First step, second step, it's about understanding of what you are using exactly. So you have to really fulfill the obligation of explainability. You have to focus on a number of other obligations resulting from the AI Act. So it's not a simple exercise at all.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm really happy that you have a great discussion. Andrej, do you see regulation in AI regulation in marketing as a blocker or
Yes.
as something that you are worried about?
Yeah, I think like Matt said, like I hate GDPR because of what it makes. Like it completely crashed my user experience with the web, right? The only like speaking from personal experience, when GDPR came out and we had a company and we had to legally put that banner that I accept, reject the cookies. That banner basically did the same thing, whether you clicked yes or no, and it hid itself. That's it, right? So in the background, Adobe, for example, already showed they don't care about regulation, right? They simply put in their privacy that anything you do in Photoshop is now their own legal right. Yes, they will be fined because of it. They don't care, like because it's 0.3% of their revenue or whatever, and you can't do anything really to them simply because they're too powerful, because they can, they have the power to, get a ton of, I don't know, not just lawyers, but, they have the power to basically change that regulation so that it suits them and it doesn't suit the small businesses, right? So in marketing, yeah, definitely, it shouldn't be, but I think it will become a blocker, because what I expect to happen is exactly that. I expect additional checkboxes on the website, and that crashes my conversion rates. So you have a reply?
I totally agree. And that's why I started by a little bash on the GDPR side. The thing is that no one is trying to solve the problem, and no one is trying to put the data in the first place. Everyone is trying to sneak around what's happening over the last 25 years and do some, shadow painting to cover that no one wants to give the ownership of your data to you. If the data is the most valuable thing now, as we all say or hear, the most valuable thing I keep in a vault. This vault is owned by my bank. This is how it started many, many hundreds of years ago. I had some diamonds or some gold. I put it in a vault. I pay for people to keep it there securely because I don't want others to steal it from me. Then the whole monetary system came in and we started using money in a different way. But in essence, a bank is a place where you store value. So the first thing to do in order to give the data ownership to people who are the proprietary owners of this data is to put them in their vaults. And that means we have to put everything on the head. Instead of giving us 5 more checkboxes and explaining how many different important things are happening behind those checkboxes that we will never know about, let's ask ourselves, how can we be the owners of the data? So let's imagine that your bank has your data vault. Every data about you, your purchase in Zalando, your Netflix history, your Facebook profiling for ads, everything is not on Facebook database, not on Amazon database, not on Netflix database. It's on a database that your bank is storing for you. And then, instead of you clicking 500 checkboxes when you're trying to browse, they click the fucking checkboxes because they have to comply with your policy on your data. I'm okay for Zalando to check my Facebook history if they give me 25% off the purchase. If not, fuck you, try to advertise somewhere else. This is my data, Pay for it or don't use it. And if we start thinking about this way, we don't have the checkboxes, but we have the whole industry to rebuild.
Tomáš, do you like the idea of having data in a vault like diamonds?
In respect of data, it's definitely the new gold, that's for sure. And the thing is that almost all corporations have to handle with their data properly and diligently. That's, again, a matter of fact. And as far as data, the quality of the data, the quality of the structure of the data, it's the very first and the most vital thing when you want to process the data, either for any further AI use or for personal data processing or for whatever other potentially in the future quantum computing use, etc. So this is the very first and vital element for any operations which you can now imagine. That's a matter of fact. Matter of fact number two, I wouldn't commit myself to the statement that the whole AI Act is about clicking on 200, 300, 400 checkboxes. It's actually not at all about clicking on any checkboxes. You don't even need to implement any checkboxes. You have to implement proper rules resulting from the AI Act. It's a far cry from what a GDPR checkboxes and hidden practices under, let's say, usage of cookie bars and dark pattern bars mean to you. Now it's a completely different story. But I fully agree with you that the rebuild strategy for the data is definitely a must. So the companies really have to know what data they use, what data they have, in what quality they have it, because otherwise you can be almost 100% sure that the data would be corrupted by a bias. You will have problems with explainability of the AI model. You will have problems with transparency. And if you are screened or controlled by a supervisory authority, you will really have to you will have to explain how you are using your AI. Otherwise, you may be fined because you're not transparent. There are a number of cases where companies were fined just by failing to prove how transparent they are in terms of processing of personal data. And the AI Act goes even further. So the only question is what that means in practice. To what extent you should be able to explain how you're dealing with your data. This is not something what has been agreed by the expert community nor by the legislator. And Matt, I'm not a legislator either. I'm happy for the AI Act because as an attorney, as a practicing attorney, this will obviously bring quite a lot of business for us as lawyers because we will have to help out the companies. So even though if you say from my colleagues that AI Act is too complicated, too complex, too comprehensive, well, lucky us. The more complex legislation, the better for us. That's also true.
Yeah, that was the base of my reasoning for the hate I have for GDPR. It brought tremendous business for the lawyers, and that's the only benefit the market has ever seen. The only benefit, not a single other.
No. There are a lot of
benefits. The data is more exploited than it used to be. I get more unsolicited calls from salespeople than I ever had. My data is being used whenever and wherever, and okay, I agreed on it, but point me one person that read a privacy policy during the last month and is not a lawyer. Reading all those things is like fighting with your wife. In the end, you say, okay, I accept, I'm sorry, I will do whatever you say.
Matt, perhaps let's take it from another perspective. Without having GDPR, you will definitely not have any statutory basis for you to claim that you should not be recorded at, for example, in the bathroom. A.
Yeah,
B,
and my other way of doing it is not having a call at all. So I can call my insurer to tell them my car got crashed and be recorded, or not tell them at all. What a choice. Like I haven't had it before.
Well, but undisputed fact is that just this is not a discussion about benefits of GDPR for us as individuals or as... Well, yeah, but this panel is about AI. It's not about GDPR. So that's the reason I just don't want to sweep into GDPR questions.
Some people tell that like AI Act is just GDPR on steroids, right?
Sorry?
GDPR on steroids.
On steroids. Well, what a bold statement, isn't it? I wouldn't say so, guys. This is not like GDPR. GDPR is something what has evolved over decades. But this is something what should give you, as private individuals, at least some level of certainty and a level playing field for all key stakeholders, what is allowed and what is not allowed. None of us will be happy if there is no law which would say that you cannot be scored like there are guys, for example, in China. If, for example, you will be prohibited to come from Poland to Prague because your social scoring is low and your passport will not be allowed simply to come through the customs office because your social scoring is low, you will not be happy. But this could very easily happen in China because the new legislation on AI is pretty strict. And we advise a lot of clients in China, so we know some particular details which are very appalling to the European culture. So that's why we have the AI Act. I'm not the biggest fan of the AI Act, but I'm a fan of having at least some sort of rules which would provide you with a level playing field, so that all of us know that this is prohibited. This practice is not accepted by anyone. And I don't think that this is a bad thing. And as far as GDPR, when you wanted to have that excursion to this area of law, well, imagine a situation that you have children in the school and you just want to see your children on your photos only, in your camera only, but not on the website of the school or of the kindergarten. You don't, but without GDPR, you wouldn't have the legal title to claim that the school is not allowed simply because you did not provide the consent to post the photos on the website. Because later on, someone could find it, someone could make fun of your children, how they looked like when they were 5, 10, 15, 16 years old. That's one of the problems, yes. And this is a problem pretty well solved by the GDPR.
If you don't mind, guys, let's move from GDPR and kindergarten back to business and maybe to a bright side of regulation. It has to be some, right? So, Andrej, do you see any positive side of the regulation? Maybe in the terms of marketing, that people will believe in AI more with the regulation, you will be able to market your services or products better if you are compliant with AI Act. So your point of view, please.
So, yeah, I mean, there are definitely positive sides. So, when it comes sort of to innovation versus regulation, obviously the kid in me wants to go all out for the innovation, right? Let's explore the possibilities because they are limitless. The problem is I also worked with a company, the founder of the company was working for 20 years with Goldman Sachs, and he found that, he saw that AI is coming, and he saw that there is basically no escape in it. And so the only way to sort of remove your data into a vault, like you said, is to keep it local on the computer without a connection to the internet, which is not a great way to do it, right? Because you lose the collaboration that the cloud gave us. And so I think we are sort of in a weird space, especially in the marketing sort of part. We are in a weird space where basically you can't know right now what's AI, what's generated, and what's real. You can't really tell fake from real. And I know that in the AI Act it says that the companies will be obliged to say this is AI generated, et cetera, but still it's really, AI is becoming so good on the one end, and people are, companies are willing to explore the limits to the point where we don't know whether something is real or fake. And that's a problem I think that the regulation in the future needs to sort of address, and it needs to, make it clear that whenever I'm clicking a checkbox, what's happening actually behind it? What's the purpose of the checkbox? How is my data being used, and do I allow such a use? Because right now we are, I think, sort of in a transition period where all of the rules are sort of ambiguous a bit, and so that makes it difficult to explore the potential of AI because we don't know what the limits are, really.
Thank you. Matt, do you see a bright side of regulation?
Of course, and the AI Act case is very unique in such, because I think it was the first time in history with AI where the innovators came to the regulators and say, we need some cuffs. Like, guys, this is too big. We need some regulations. We can do too much without constraints. Because this is the first time, like every time there is a new technology or a new breakthrough, the compliance is always a few steps behind. That's why we have a hierarchy of law. So we don't know what's okay with AI, but we know you cannot kill people. So any AI that kills people is bad, regardless of how you're doing it. That's the hierarchy of acts that we have. There's a constitution, there are national laws, local laws, policies, etc., etc., etc. But with artificial intelligence, what the industry said is, this is too powerful, so we can use it however we want. We need to narrow things down as the direction of the development goes. And that kind of sparked the AI Act. And that's very important. And some extremely important things are in the AI Act, like explainability, traceability, and many different things that make you be able to actually reason why something's happened. That's a bit on the edge of the idea of AI, because the essence of AI is to have a black box that does something you don't understand, that brings results you want. But having this understated that there has to be some logic behind it, I think it keeps it a bit more humanistic to work and look on AI as itself. On the other hand, the more constraints you have, the more laws you have, the less innovation can happen. And we can clearly see it with comparing China to US to Europe. We have less data, we have lower quality of data, we use this data less, we benefit less from it as Europe, partially because of the regulations, not only in AI and GDPR, but also in other areas. If it's good or bad, I think it's more of a philosophical question. I believe that this is the way it should be, and this is the way it works. We find a new field, we don't know what to do with it, what is okay, what's not okay. We need to agree on some laws that are happening in this new field of science, of business, of society that we're developing, and we need to agree on the terms that we will all take getting into this new direction. And for that is good. My deep regret is that we're not getting deeper into it, and we're not getting to start from redesigning the law around the current understanding of the universe we have, but we're trying to keep the principles of the law that started in Roman Empire to govern AI in 2024. That's a bit, I think, of a problem, is that the law itself should evolve a lot in order to be able to govern what will be happening with AI, especially if we don't look at the next 5, but the next 20 years.
Thank you very much for your answer. Tomáš, you already mentioned that AI Act is something like a gift from heaven to lawyers. But do you see any bright side of regulation instead of the amount of work that is ahead of you?
Yes, for sure I do. First of all, it's really the focus on a private individual. That's something what I believe is something what we definitely should foster for a pretty period, long time. And I feel obliged to say a few words about what Matt put forward. I still think that all these Roman laws are still valid even for today, because if you have the basic principles in the law enacted somewhere in the constitution or other constitutional documents and laws and bylaws, that gives you a pretty much of a certainty. Because imagine a situation that you don't have a particular rule set out in a law and you go to the court. The judge doesn't have any other possibility than to decide on that case. He or she, I mean the judge, cannot say, okay, there is a specific rule missing, so I just can't decide this case and let's wait for the legislator to come up with a new law. No. He or she must deliver the decision. And that's why all these basic elements from which you derive all those sub-rules and sub-rules must be there. So I think that the AI Act brings a lot new. As just I said, it brings the level playing field, and you can see the benefits even now in jurisdictions that were at the first stance, they denied having anything like an AI Act, for example, in the US or in India or China or elsewhere in the world. But now what you see is a tendency to have a very similar wording even in these jurisdictions. And why? Because the businesses require so. If you see an American vendor operating in Europe, which is a 500-600 million market, which is still a very interesting market even for these vendors, it's not a 2 billion market like in China, but still 600-700 million people, it's quite a big market. And in this market, the acquis communautaire, the communitarian law, says that an AI Act is something what you have to follow, what you have to observe. Then they want to have a very similar regulation also in the US and also in India. And the trend is very similar with GDPR. GDPR was the very first complex legislation on data protection, and now it is being copied in a number of other jurisdictions and serves as an inspirational source of information for other jurisdictions. And the same will happen with the AI Act for sure. So I think that we just can't say that we are just a standalone jurisdiction here in Europe having a complex AI Act and that's it. No, it's not. We have to interact with other jurisdictions because the technological development is there. And even for technology companies, there must be some rules. If you have, let's say, players like, I don't know, thieves or some, I don't know, colored organization somewhere from the darknet, they will never ever respect any laws. They will do just the contrary. They will misuse the AI for their own benefits, for committing crimes, etc. But that's a totally different story. That's a totally different story. That's the criminal law. So I think that the biggest benefit of the AI Act is that we all know what will be permissible, what will not be permissible, what ethical standards are supported, and we know the timeline, when and how to prepare for this. So for me, even though it's difficult, it's good.
Thank you very much for your answer. The time is almost up. So let's move to the questions from the audience. Feel free to raise your hand if you have any question. Okay.
There's a lot of talk with AI on productivity, doing more, saving time, etc. I personally don't hear a lot of talk on increasing quality about that. What are your thoughts on that?
The more quality you can showcase with your data, the more quality the output is, obviously. And it should be definitely your intention to have as best quality data as possible, because otherwise you will have problems with explainability, with bias, etc. And there are a number of landmark cases with especially outputs in respect of the IP rights and the protection of the outputs generated by the AI. So that's a very big area for discussion as well. But the general rule, I would say, is that if you want to be productive, and if you want to be productive in a good way, and if you want to have the output which fulfills all statutory criteria for a good output, then you need to put a lot of emphasis on the data at the beginning, on the training data sets, on categorization of data, on exclusion of the biased elements of those data sets, etc. So that's a must in my eye.
Thank you very much. I believe that our speakers will be more than happy to answer your questions after the panel. Our time is up. Thank you very much for your attention. And let's give our speakers a well-deserved round of applause. Thank you very much.